The headlights of Frank's battered Ford F-150 picked out a lonely shape trudging along the shoulder of the highway. Their head hung low, so the only detail Frank made out was the olive-drab army surplus jacket flapping in the rising wind. Thunder rumbled and rolled overhead, and the occasional lightning flash foretold a storm blowing in. It was 10 miles to town with nothing but bush and rock cuts for company. Frank had a strict no-riders policy since that punk-ass kid had pulled a knife on him and taken his wallet back in '07. When he told the story, he always added that the kid's eyes were redder than an Injun's ass and that he must have been high on them oxy condoms. Still, the stranger had the shambling gait and lowered head that told the world he'd had a bad day and resigned himself to it not getting better. Perhaps it was the way his boots kicked up dust, or maybe it was the fact that he hadn't bothered to turn around. Hell, he hadn't even stuck his thumb out in a half-assed attempt to hitch a ride. A slash of lightning lit the sky and a few fat raindrops smacked into the windshield. Frank looked at the faded picture of his wife, Abby, tucked into the sun visor. If she weren't off visiting her sister in Timmins, she would chide him about doing the Christian thing. They'd have been together for 50 years next month, and he still loved her as much as the first time he saw her at the Blueberry Festival. She was wearing a yellow sundress and smile that could light up most of Bell Park. Frank shook his head and flipped the blinker on. "You're a goddamned idiot, Frank." He pulled over to the gravel shoulder, crunching to a halt and stepping down from the cab. The stranger was about a quarter-mile back, invisible in the dark. Frank strode to rear of the truck, stuck a cigarette in the corner of his mouth, and lit it with a practiced gesture of his Zippo. He heard the telltale crunch of footsteps before he saw the kid jogging out of the darkness and into the red glow of the truck's taillights. He was wire-thin and looked about 20. Frank reached over the side of the pickup and felt the familiar shape of his framing hammer in the bed. "Thanks, mister." The boy offered a hesitant grin. "I thought I was going to have to walk my tired ass all the way back to town." "Yup." Frank spit into the dirt. "And you might still." He cocked an appraising eye over the young man. "You ain't no dope fiend, are ya? Wouldn't rob an old man who's trying to do you a good turn?" "No, sir." The boy fumbled in his pockets. "I can even pay you for your trouble, if that's what you want. I haven't got much money on me." Frank waved his hand. "Put your money away, son. I just want to make sure you ain't gonna cut my throat when we get a ways down the highway." He pulled his hand out of the bed of the pickup and stuck it out. "Name's Frank." This time the boy's face lit when he smiled. He grasped Frank's hand. "Jody." Frank nodded at him. "Well, Jody, let's